Welcome to another FasTrax webinar. Webinars are weekly events that are held on Fridays, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. We cover a range of topics over the products that we carry. To get to the webinars, you can go to our website at goftx.com. And if you'll go to the FTx Lifeline, click there. And once this page loads, we're going to go about halfway down the screen till we get to the webinar section. From within webinars, we are able to view previous recordings, we can register for upcoming webinars, and we also have a place where we can subscribe and receive FasTrax news and also get notified of upcoming webinars. All right, so today we are going to be covering the new FasTrax Warehouse app. So the Android app is, at one point it was combined with the retail. It was just one app. We've now got it separated to where we have one for retail and one for warehouse. So we are going to go over the warehouse one. So in order to get to the app, if you don't already have it, what we can do is you'll just want to go to the Play Store. And you can just search for FTx Warehouse. And it should be your first result that comes up. And then you can download and get that installed. All right, once installed, we just open up the FTx Warehouse. Of course, you'd want to have this connected to your network. It would be connected just like any other Android device by going into your Wi-Fi and putting your Wi-Fi password. So when we first sign on, the first thing we'll have to do is go into settings. Let me actually log out. This will be the first thing that you see when you first install the app. From here, what we would do is we'd go into settings. And under connection, we are going to want to point this to the IP address of your server. So I've already got mine entered. And we're going to use a /FTXWH. This is for the web service for the handheld app to be able to communicate with your server. We also tell it what port number we're using. By default, most time IS is set to 80, but that can be set to any port that you'd want to use. Once we have everything entered, we just tell it to keep these settings. And once it connects, as you can see, that message goes away. So the next thing I want to do is I'd want to log in. So to log into the app, we're going to go down here to the bottom right. And it's going to connect, and it's going to tell us to select user. We're going to have a drop down right here. And we can select our user. Then we're just going to enter our password and tell it to log in. Now, this screen may differ depending on what permissions the user has. So if you have all permissions, you're pretty much going to see what I see here. But if, say, your user doesn't have the permissions to say verify and order, then verifies, both of these would not show up, and so forth. It's all got to do with the permissions that they have. So once we log in, if we have the permissions, we can go into settings. And within settings, we will be able to do some default settings for the warehouse program. So we just go to warehouse settings. So basically our defaults are what printer do we want to make the default manifest printer, or in the default label printer. We can select what printers we have here, and that would then be our default. We can set it to where it will auto print a manifest. If we're using boxes, are we going to do the box during the pick or during the verify stage of the orders? Do we allow users to close orders? The next one is pick items with a zero quantity and guided pick. Are we going to skip them, or are we going to take that just to the next item? We have settings here for always scan. Always scan is when you're scanning or verifying an item, you scan that UPC or the item number, and instead of a number or a box popping up where you can type in a number, it'll only allow you to scan. So if you had 5 items, you'd have to scan that item 5 times in order to get the quantity up to 5. But as you can see, we can set always scan on pick and on verify separately. And we also have prompt settings. So do we want prompts on guided pick? When we scan to edit an item in guided pick, do we always want to prompt for a box? Do we want to prompt for a cart? And if we're using items that require a serial number, do we want to validate the item serial? All right, and like I said, those are just kind of the base settings that we can set for Warehouse on the app here. All right, we're going to go back to the main screen. We're going to kind of touch on each module that we have here. So the first module we have is inventory. Inventory is going to be where you're going through and you're counting your items that you have within Warehouse, making sure that your counts are correct. So if we just click on inventory, it's going to come up, and if we have any inventories that have already been started, they would show here, and we could then have the option to continue that one if we needed to. If I'm wanting to start a new one, I can just come down to the bottom, click the plus sign. It's going to ask me what definition do I want to use. Let's say I want to do cigarettes. It'll ask me if I want to proceed. I'll tell it yes. And now I'm ready to start scanning items. Down here at the bottom, the settings symbol, we can also go in and tell it to always scan, so we can enable or disable that from within the modules themselves. I have the rescan prompt as enabled, meaning it's going to let me know that I've rescanned an item. I can show the count history, and I can see what items are uncounted. So if I do uncounted items, it's going to pull it up and tell me what items I've yet to scan that's on this definition. All right, our next module is item check. So within item check, it's just that we're checking an item. So we would just scan our item, or we can actually type in the number for it. It comes up and tells us our item number, how many we have on hand, our description, our cost, and our price. All of these items, we cannot click on those to edit. Those can only be edited in the Warehouse program itself. However, we can change the locations for the item. So right now I've got this as bay 1. I can actually click in here and enter a different bay number for it. And I can do that with any of the locations. So item check is just that. It's basically to go scan an item. You can see what it is, where it's supposed to be at. And if you need to update the location of it, you can update the location through this module. The next one is purchasing. Purchasing is really going to be more like you're receiving in an item. So if I go to purchase, you can see I have purchase orders that are showing up here. So from within here, if I've already got a purchase order created and I've now received it from a vendor, I can go in and actually use this program to receive it in with my app. If I just need to create a purchase order and receive it in, I can always hit the plus. And if doing that, it's going to come up and ask me, what vendor am I going to use? And then what's my invoice number? And then I can start receiving items in. If I already have one, like I said, I can actually click on, we'll do this PO here. As you can see, it tells me I've already scanned premium cigar. I've counted 1. And like with inventory, I can click the settings down here and I can see unscanned items. One other nice feature with the Android app is the fact that I've got it in portrait mode right now and I see my scanned items. However, if I take and I rotate my tablet to landscape mode, now you can see I have my scanned items here on the left. My items that are not scanned are over here on the right. So this way I can actually see everything I've scanned and everything I still have left to scan for this purchase. So anything on the right is still, it says I've got it on order on this purchase order. I just have to scan it to receive it in. All right, our next module is pick order. This is just that. I've got an order that came in, and now I'm going out to the warehouse to pick it. I select which order it is that I'm going to be picking. So we'll start with the 1938 here on top. And as you see, I've got 5 different items here. They're all in different bays. If I click on bay 1, it's going to tell me it's in aisle 1, section A. So on shelf number 1, in bin number 1, location 6, and here's my item. So I would then just scan my item to go in and pick it. So it comes up, it tells me my order quantity was 2. How many am I going to pick? So I'm going to go ahead and say that we have 2, and I'm going to add it. As you can see, there's a line through my item number now. As I go back, you can see it says completely picked. So I now know that bay 1 is completely picked. So I can now go on to the next bay and go forward that way. Again, just like with the other modules, I can also look at uncounted items by going to the settings and clicking uncounted items. Once I finish everything on this order, I can come in here and also tell it to mark this as picked. This will set the status to this order as being picked, so therefore it'll show up in warehouse as picked, and we will then know that order is ready to be verified if we're doing verify. If not, this order is ready to be sent off to the customer and invoiced. All right, the next one is, I'm actually going to go down to the next one below pick order to guided pick. This is just a different way to pick. So if we go into guided pick, the way this one works is instead of seeing a list of all the orders or all the items on the order, it's going to allow me to go in and it's going to tell me what item I need to pick first. So it's telling me to go scan my basic cigarettes. And so from there, I would go in and put in my quantity. And then I would tell it next. And then it's going to bring up my next one. Now, as you can see, it does tell us the locations. So with this one, the handheld is kind of telling us where to go to pick. With just pick order, we can go in whatever order we want to pick the order. When scanning an item as well, if with the handhelds, they generally have a built-in scanner. If you're using like a tablet or an Android like phone, with those you can get Bluetooth scanners that will allow you to scan, or there is the option here to use the device's camera, which will then in turn allow you to use the camera to focus on the barcode to be able to scan the item that way. Also in the pick, if we're using boxes in the pick section, I have the option to do a cart or a box from here. So if I was using a box, I would just click on it and I would scan the label for the box, or I could enter the box number by hitting the magnifying glass. All right, our next one we're going to cover is going to be the verify order. This is for after you've picked items or picked an order. This is for you to go in and verify that the count was actually correct on that order. So if we look, we have these orders that are showing that they have already been picked and they're ready to go. But we can also go from the status of picked to verifying. We can make that change just by clicking the three little dots at the top. If everything has been verified, it'll give us a green circle, a checkbox, letting us know that that order has been completed. Okay, the next one is verify items. The way that this differs from verify order is doing the complete order. The complete order has to be picked and ready to go to be verified. Verify items works a little bit differently in the fact that we're just doing items. So if we have our pick set up to where we're doing pick groups, so we may have somebody picking cigarettes, somebody picking cigars, somebody picking vape, and so forth. So if the person picking vape finishes first, they'll take their items to the location where we're going to verify items at, and that person can start verifying just by selecting the order and scanning what items they have. So as you can see, we have order showing up here, and again, we can change that from in progress to picked or to verifying, depending on the status is where the order will show up. I have the option as well to do all groups, or I can actually select a particular pick group to use. So again, if I select an order, it's going to ask me if I want to continue. I'm going to tell it yes. And from here, we would just go in and pick what items we have on here. All right, our next module is returns. So if we had any return orders, they would show up in here. We'd be able to see them. Again, we can look at the ones that are flagged as being open, or we can look at the ones that are in progress. So this one I've actually already picked it. It's going to tell me that it's been picked. Do I want to choose another order or continue picking this one? I can just tell it continue. I'm showing a -1. That's what was expected. I would hit next. Now I keep doing that until I'm done. Now I'm completed with this return order. Do I want to print a manifest for it? I'm going to tell it no because I don't have a printer connected right now. And then it's going to tell me that since I'm finished picking the orders, if I mark it as picked, I will no longer be able to pick the items. So do I want to mark it as picked? I'll tell it yes. now I've just changed the status on this order to actually being picked. Blank orders are just that. It's an order that you can create that's going to be just blank. You can add things to it. As you can see, I do not have any currently. So if I wanted to add one, I would choose the plus sign at the bottom. Then it's going to tell me to select an account. So what account am I creating this order for? I'll just choose Alabama Store 1. The sales rep, I'm just going to leave it as default user. If the customer has a PO number, we can put it in here. We'll tell it to create. So now it tells us no items have been scanned. I can then start entering items. How many are they ordering? We'll say 2. We'll save that. Now this item is on that order. So I could theoretically go through my warehouse and just create an order by scanning items to put onto the order for the customer. And that would really be ready to be finished up and ready to go once I've finished with it. Return totes. So if you're using totes or boxes within the warehouse system to ship stuff out to your stores or your customers, and those are coming back to you, we're able to track those within warehouse. We assign numbers to them, like serial numbers. You can actually put a barcode on it and be able to scan it in and out. So with the return totes, basically what that is you've received the boxes back from your customer. So all we do with that is we go into return totes. It tells us to enter or scan the box. If I wanted to use the camera on my tablet, I could just click the icon here, or if it's got a scanner, I can scan it. I'm just going to enter one of my serials. So it tells me box 002 has been successfully checked in. So now that box is going to have a status of in if I go look at my totes in the warehouse. All right, and our last module is adjustments. This is just where you're going in and making an adjustment for whatever reason, whether it be you made a mistake in receiving or you got a damaged item you need to remove out. You can always select one that's already open, or you can go in and start a new adjustment. You can make a note for it. We'll just say this is damaged. I can check the box to damaged, which would then flag it as damaged in the system as well, meaning it's going to be returned. It's not live inventory. If it's not a damaged item and it's just, say you received a carton of cigarettes back, nothing wrong with them, you wouldn't want to mark that as damaged because that's going to be resellable. But if it is damaged, we'd mark it damaged so it doesn't go back into our live inventory. All right, and from there we would just go in, like with everything else, just scan our items that we need and put in our quantities. And once we do that, we would be able to go in and apply that to inventory. And we can do that right from the handheld. It also would give us the option of doing the apply within warehouse itself. But we also give you the option in the app to go ahead and close it from the app and not have to go log into a workstation to do that as well. All right, that pretty much covers all the modules in the warehouse app. One thing that I forgot to touch on doing like blank orders, if you're doing a blank order, you can enter your items through here, but in order to actually get that into the warehouse system, we'll have to actually go into warehouse and under inventory and under order monitoring, you'd see a note like this that says handheld order from Friday, October the 9th. And this is that order that I just entered in. So in order to make this an order to go into to be picked and then invoiced, we'd actually want to go and click on the order under order monitoring and tell it to process. If you had multiples, you can tell it to process all, which it would then do how many orders I have in this screen. If it's just one, I can just hit process file. But it's going to ask me if I want to process all orders. I'm going to tell it yes. And it's going to tell me that one has been processed. So now if I go to my orders, here's the order that I done on the handheld. Item number 1, order quantity of 2. And it labels it as an EDI method instead of a manual, since we done it on the handheld. Alright, that pretty much covers the new Warehouse app. Like I said, if you've used the Warehouse app before when it was in with the retail side, it's essentially the same. As far as your look and everything, nothing's really changed there. It's just now a standalone app as opposed to being combined together. But I hope you did learn something today. And also remember that webinars are weekly events held on Fridays at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. And again, to get to those, you can go to goftx.com/webinars, and that'll bring you right to the webinars page. And you can register for the upcoming webinars, or you can go back and view previous webinars that we've had. All right. Thank you, and you have a good weekend.